And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to the Melanin Initiative. I'm Dr. Kimberly Madison, a doctorally prepared nurse practitioner, and I co-host this podcast with Alicia and Geraldine, who send their love in their absence. In healthcare, there is often too much information and not enough time. Here at the Melanin Initiative, we avoid TMI by breaking things down into language you can understand. We create a safe space for you to ask your questions and share a nursing perspective without taking up too much of your time. We're super excited about this interview today. It's going to be part 2 of our maternal health series, which we started in December. We're going to be talking all about Black doulas, doulas in general, which we did touch on in that original episode, but we want to get a little bit deeper and share a lot more information from someone who's an expert in that field. And so we hope by the end of this episode, you'll be able to understand the history and definition of doulas, the mission of the Black Doulas Association, their education and training, why they're important before, during, and after pregnancy, the services they provide, what you can expect as a client, any challenges or misconceptions people have about doula, and how you can connect with our special guest today. Before we get started, I just want to go over our house rules. Remember, everyone, this show is for educational purposes only. The opinions expressed are our opinions alone. They are not a representation of any of our affiliations. If you're experiencing a medical emergency, you should seek medical attention and medical guidance from your healthcare provider. If you're having a physical emergency, you can call 911. If you or someone you know might be having a mental health emergency, you can call 988. Welcome, Alexandria. Welcome to the
Hello.
Melanin Initiative.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're so excited to have you. Is this your first time on a podcast?
It is my first time on a podcast. Yes, it is.
Oh, well, we hope this is a wonderful experience for you and that, maybe we'll have you back again in the future.
Yes, I love that.
So before we get into our question, just tell our audience a little bit about kind of who you are and where you're from and what you do when you're not on podcast.
Sure. So again, like she said, my name is Alexandria. I am a doula of 4 years now. I got into this work because of my son. I have a 7-year-old son whom I had via natural childbirth. And although I did have him through natural childbirth, there were a lot of things that I was uneducated about. And so that kind of brought me into this field full force on a mission to help other women as well. So when I'm not on this lovely podcast, I am pretty much just spending time with my family, my partner, my son, and making memories with them.
Oh, that's so sweet. And so where are you coming to us from exactly?
Michigan. I live in Clinton Township, but I service Metro Detroit area, Southeast Michigan. So a plethora of cities in Michigan.
Wonderful. And so you're actually a really, really special treat for some really dear friends of mine, my extended family, Brittany and Charlene, who are out there in Southfield. And so what happened is they got pregnant, and I can't remember if they were looking for a doula or if I recommended that they get one. And so I went and I found like maybe 3 or 4 people for them to look over. And I saw you on YouTube. So I saw you, I think, through the Black Doulas Association website, but I also saw you do like a YouTube and like something on YouTube. And so I sent them everyone. They interviewed all the people and they selected you. And they were so happy with their experience with you, how supportive you were. Charlene specifically mentioned that, her patients had a limited time, and she really appreciated your presence, your patience, and how you were able to support and provide. You were able to take pictures and videos too, and so that helped like the family and friends really kind of be a part of it, because that's really not something you're thinking about when you're in the middle of labor.
Yes.
And yet you want those memories at the same time, and it was kind of tense because we're just getting out of COVID and things were still kind of up in the air sometimes. It was so nice that you were able to be present. And so I can't wait to tell them that you're a guest on this show.
Yes, I love them. They were amazing, amazing. A very unique birth experience.
Oh, and yes, I especially appreciate that you supported them. They are a same-sex married couple, and not everyone would have extended the same grace. And so I want to make sure that I recognize that you were willing to do that. And you did it with such love and care.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So let's get into our questions. So if you will, please share with us the history and definition of doulas, the way that you explain it to your potential clients.
Absolutely. So, doulas are birth professionals, and they provide physical, emotional, and informational support to families who are expecting. I know sometimes they can kind of get confused with midwives at times, but just for the audience, midwives do deliver babies, whereas doulas provide non medical support. We also provide prenatal support, childbirth support, and also postpartum. So there are different types of doulas. And so some are childbirth doulas who support, pre-pregnancy, during labor and delivery, and a little bit postpartum. And then there are postpartum doulas who primarily provide, of course, support after childbirth. And then there are full spectrum doulas who provide support throughout the entire process.
Is that their name, Full Spectrum?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. What kind are you?
I'm a birth doula.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. And you, like I said, I saw you were listed under the Black Doulas Association. So if you could just tell us a little bit about who they are and what they do.
Yes, absolutely. So I don't speak on necessarily on behalf of the Black Doulas Association, but I do speak as a member and someone who is a part of their national directory. But the National Black Doulas Association is an organization that is committed to connecting families of color with doulas of color, or any really birth-related support. That could be lactation support, that could be midwives. So there are a number of different birth services that are actually on their directory as well, like placenta encapsulation as well. But they have all of that on their directory just to connect families across the country with birth workers of color.
I like that, birth workers. And do you have to pay a fee to be listed in that directory?
You do. There is an annual fee. I can't recall how much it is, but there is an annual fee that you do pay. But I do find that the majority of the clients that I do service actually do find me on their directory. So the directory is amazing and it's very, very helpful. And I think something that's also unique to the National Black Doulas Association is that they also provide training as well. I completely left that out, but they also provide training as well for doulas and a plethora of other birth work services. But what makes their organization very unique is that they also provide business training and history training as well within their training classes. So typically doula trainings are about 3 days. And the first day of their training is more of like a history training. The second day is more curriculum and book work, anatomy, things like that, birth work education. And then the third day is business, just strictly business and how to actually run a doula business, which is really, really unique to me because I've actually taken other doula trainings as well before taking the National Black Doulas Association training. And I never had a business training and actually how to integrate that into an actual business and be able to operate that full term.
Well, that is interesting. I am in the entrepreneurial space as well. And so do you pay a separate fee for the membership and that class, or by paying for the class, you automatically get to be a part of the directory?
So there is there's a cost. There is a cost for the class and then also a fee for the directory as well. They can be separate, which I mean can also be beneficial because there are some doulas, who already have certifications and things like that, but also still want to be a part of their directory, which they can also do.
Yeah, they're really full service. And I love that you shared their mission. So, the reason we've been doing this episode, and like we mentioned in our initial maternal health episode, the health outcomes in America when it comes to maternal health, unfortunately, is very poor compared to other high income countries, especially when you consider the cost of healthcare. And that disparity is the greatest in Black and Brown communities. And here at the Melanin Initiative, we believe one contributing factor is just a lack of knowledge and information. And so that's what we're doing here, is just to provide that information to people and hopefully explain it in a way that makes sense to them so they have the language and the vocabulary when they start going out and asking questions themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, did you want to share a little bit more about your education and training?
Sure. So when I first sought to become a doula, I didn't do a ton of research in the beginning. I was just like, I know I want to do this. I know this is what I'm passionate about. Let me find a training right now. So I went online and I did train through Doula, which is the largest doula organization. Probably the more familiar organization. And I traveled, so I am in Michigan. I drove to Philadelphia to do a training. They have a milk bank there that's actually pretty phenomenal. Um, just a side note, this milk bank, because it's so amazing. They take milk donations and then they filter the milk, they clean the milk, and then they repurpose it and give it to mothers in need of breast milk. And it is like, I mean, high tech, like a really amazing facility that they're doing this out of. But that is where I did my training through Doula, and it was a pretty good training. I ran my business for a few years with that training, and then after servicing mothers for a couple of years, I did decide to get my training through the National Black Doulas Association. And like I said, that training was just really unique because not only did it teach me about birth work in itself, but it really taught me about birth work in our community and where midwives came from. The original founder, I know they just recently transitioned from their previous founder, the original founder, to a new someone else. But the original founder, Tracy, she started out as a midwife years ago, and then she transitioned into doing doula work. So that also kind of made her training unique in a sense that it came from a foundation of midwifery and not just doula, but actual midwifery and childbirth. So that was pretty amazing. But I did do my trainings through both of those. And I also did a placenta encapsulation training through the National Black Doulas Association as well. And so, yes, here I am a few years into it. And I love the work that I do.
Oh, that's wonderful. Did you have a doula with your son?
I didn't. I did not have a doula, unfortunately. I did do a lot of research. I did ask my physician a ton of questions, but even though I will say that I did have an ideal childbirth experience, but at the same time, after having my son, I realized that there were things that I still wasn't aware of. And it was just kind of like a shock to me because I was like, I thought I had done like all the research that needed to be done, to have the birth outcome that I did. But then I was like, wow, there's still so much that, that I didn't know. And even though my physician, she was amazing. She answered all my questions, but I still found that she wasn't, I guess, forthcoming with just volunteering additional information that could have really been supportive to me in my experience. So, yeah, having a doula is amazing, and I wish I did. If I deliver, I will have a doula for sure.
And you mentioned placental encapsulation. Can you just explain a little bit more about what that is?
Yes, absolutely. So after you deliver, you also deliver your placenta, and some mothers or many mothers decide that the hospital can take their placenta, but in other cases you can encapsulate your placenta. So it is steamed, it is dried out, and it is grounded and put into capsules. And so that is so that the mother can kind of regain some of the nourishment that she's lost in the process of childbirth. Many times the capsules through placenta encapsulation can be beneficial for postpartum depression. It can also be helpful for milk production as well, if you feel like you're struggling with that. But I will say that with placenta encapsulation, it can vary. I've seen some mothers who have taken, used placenta encapsulation. It's been extremely helpful for them. And then for some mothers, it's been the complete opposite. And so it just varies upon experience. But I definitely think that all mothers should definitely look into it if they have some things that they want to explore additionally when it comes to their placenta.
And so you said you received training on it through the Black Doulas Association?
Yes.
Is that so you can provide education, or you're actually doing the encapsulating?
I'm actually doing the encapsulating.
Okay, you do that in your home, or you have to go somewhere?
Nope. So I have done it in my home. It's not something that I currently offer, but previously, yes, I was doing it in my home.
And curious, is that something that's expensive? Do people pay out of pocket? Does insurance cover it?
So insurance doesn't cover it. It is to be paid out of pocket, and it can vary anywhere. I would say from like $200 to $300. There are some people who offer. I know that there are some specifically in the Metro Detroit area doulas who offer placenta encapsulation where they'll come into your home and they'll do the encapsulation just so that you can be a part of the experience, and there's some like full transparency about what's happening, and some moms are also curious as to what that process looks like. So there are some great encapsulators in the Metro Detroit area, but yeah.
Encapsulators. I'm learning a lot of vocabulary. And is that something that's done like typically within a day? Like,
it's normally like a 2-day process.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, very interesting.
Yep.
And then you shed a little bit on it, but maybe we can go a little bit more on the importance of, we can probably do this in the different trimesters. So what's the importance of having a doula before you're even pregnant?
Sure, absolutely. So before you're pregnant, definitely I would say is education and preparation for pregnancy. Many times there are things in terms of diet, lifestyle choices, things that we can really take into consideration when we're looking to get pregnant. I know sometimes high blood pressure is like it's becoming an increasing thing that I've seen with mothers. And so just that foundational health is really important. The things that we're eating on a regular basis are really contributing to, how our body responds throughout our pregnancy and then also during labor as well. So I would say pre-pregnancy, just education, lifestyle choices, things like that. In terms of pregnancy, of course, the biggest key is education. So one of the most important things for me as a doula when working with clients is making sure that they're equipped with all of the knowledge that they need to make every choice that they need. So we break down the entire process of childbirth from beginning to end. And I like to make sure that no matter, because sometimes clients are like, oh, I know for sure I want this. I know for sure I don't want that. But I make sure that we still go over every single thing that there is to go over. Because of course we all know that childbirth is, it's unexpected and things happen and, anything can come up. So I like to make sure that most importantly, that the family is well informed, and not just the mother, but the father as well is very key for me and my doula support. Because I want to make sure that the dad feels as involved as possible, or the partner, feels as involved as possible. So I would say for pregnancy, education is like the biggest thing for that time period. Support. I know sometimes mothers can feel overwhelmed. There's so much information. And I know doulas typically, I've come across a few other doulas. I don't necessarily know if we talk about it outwardly, but I know that some doulas offer a different amount of prenatal appointments or postpartum appointments, things like that. But I know specifically for myself, I try to expand our appointments out to about 4 to 6 appointments throughout the pregnancy period. I know some doulas might do 2 or do 3, which is perfectly fine. I tend to like to do 4 to 6 just because I don't like to cram our appointments. There's so much information to cover. So I find that most of my appointments are anywhere from at least up to 2 hours. So each appointment can be pretty long. And so I don't like to overwhelm families with so much information that they just feel like, how on earth am I ever going to remember all of this? So definitely giving them the opportunity to kind of space out those appointments and take in all of that information, because there's so much that we do go over. And then I would say also during childbirth, the most, beneficial piece of that for having a doula is just having a non-biased support person there to help you. Many times families feel like, oh, I have my sister or I have my mother. But unfortunately, our family members, they care about us a lot, to the extent where they don't have that unbiased view. And so when something arises that can be an issue, they're not able to kind of set those emotions aside to make the best decision for that birthing person. Or sometimes, the family members' overwhelmed stress can, cause an overwhelming stress for the mother, which can also delay childbirth and impact the mother in a multitude of ways. So having a doula there that unbiasedly, that can help and support a mother, that can calm a mother down, that can kind of guide the space in a positive way between the partner and also the hospital staff, if they're having a hospital birth, making sure that everyone, just feels included and that we're working as a team together. I think that the doula is a really good mediator of that space.
Yes, I agree. You hit on so many key points that we talk about here too, like education. It seems kind of taken for granted because we have Google and we have YouTube, but actually on YouTube, there's like thousands of videos of women talking about how little they knew. These are smart, successful women. They did their research, they bought the books, they went to the class, and still they felt like there was this huge gap in knowledge, And so I love that you emphasize that how important that is. And we talk a lot about advocacy here. And technically, doulas are advocates in, when it comes to pregnancy and labor, and it's just given a different name. But really, you're speaking for sometimes the voiceless, right? That maybe they can't speak for themselves depending on what's going on. I love that you brought up the word unbiased, because so often people will say, oh, I have so-and-so. But really, yes, that person has a very biased opinion, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes having a neutral party can be equally beneficial for a number of reasons. I love that you have this experience with healthcare. So you're really a liaison. You're someone that's not intimidating, you're approachable, and you're available. And people can come to you, they build that trust and that rapport with you. And so when things do maybe not go according to the birth plan, there's someone there who knows them, who's gotten comfortable with them. When the nurse and doctor come in there that they've seen once or never, and you say the exact same thing, they're going to feel more comfortable and have more confidence in that decision just because of the relationship and time you spent together. I love those 2-hour appointments. I know they're not getting that with anyone else on the healthcare team, and that's what people complain about the most, is the lack of time that we're able to give them, and that's what we're trying to do in this platform, provide more time. And so I loved everything that you said. And I hope it really resonates with people to understand how important it is to have someone there. I had a patient the other day, and he had excellent questions. And he was like, I feel bad for some of the other people because they don't have anyone to speak for them. And I told him, even when people can speak for themselves, I still encourage an advocate, because none of us can remember what all of everything someone said. We only remember 30%. My mom, she comes on here sometimes. She does not like needles. The minute you mention needles, she doesn't hear anything else. And so when you're talking about my body, a future that's unpredictable, a baby I haven't met yet, concerns and fears I have, I'm only hearing some of what you're saying, and it's so important. Yeah. And so you mentioned it's a lot of information. Do you provide like handouts, or do people take notes, or how do they consume all that information?
Yep. So typically when I work with a client, I ask if they prefer like physical copies of some of the information that I'm providing them, or if they like electronic copies. And I do provide either or information for them if they need that additional information. And something too, I know that maybe some doulas may even be watching this, but something that I found, and I know sometimes it feels like it's not necessarily our responsibility, but like when I know that I'm going to a birth or I have a due date coming up, I'll put something aside in my birth bag for the nurses, or just little things like that kind of just set the tone for the environment. And they're like, oh, she's nice. And then they're like, that extra little help, that extra little, something. And I'm not sure if other doulas do this as well, but I also meet with my client's physician at least one time, so that they can also meet me. I can meet them, so that when we do encounter each other, it's not like, okay, stranger, you're coming in this space. And, because sometimes people might necessarily feel like doulas are coming into a space and like, oh, she's going to take over, or she's going to, think that she knows this job more than I do. And I never want that. So I just try to create a space where we get to interact, and we get to meet each other before, everything happens and transpires. So
I see. Every time you talk, I see why Charlene and Brittany picked you. Yeah, you're really good. Curious, what's kept you doing this for 4 years?
my passion for it, honestly, my passion. My partner he always cracks a joke. Like, he's like, you said you'd be here at 7, but I know you're never coming home at the time you say you're coming home because I'm always with the client for longer than I said I was. So it's really just my passion. And it's honestly, it's an honor to support mothers. I know, like, sometimes I don't know how other people think about it, but as a doula, like, I genuinely feel honored that a mother chose me to be in a space with her so vulnerable and so special. Like, this is the moment, like one of the most important moments of her entire life. And she's chosen me to help her through that. And so that feeling for me is euphoric. It's an amazing feeling. It is.
Oh, you're really good. You're in a space where you should be. So we've kind of heard a little bit about what an experience is like with you, and so maybe if there's anything else you haven't said, what kind of services do you provide, and what's the client experience from the time they see you on your website till they meet you in person and beyond that?
Sure. So like I said before, I am a childbirth doula. I do provide support throughout pregnancy. I am there with a client throughout her entire labor and delivery. And I do provide postpartum support up to 6 weeks postpartum. Like I said, I provide around 4 to 6 prenatal appointments. So I do like to stretch those prenatal appointments across the pregnancy, as much time as I get with a client, depending on at the time that they hire me. And so those appointments, again, will last anywhere up to 2 hours. But I do like to build a rapport with families. I do like the partner to be there at as many appointments as they can be. Just so that, by the time that we attend the childbirth, we really do genuinely have a relationship with each other. I never wanted to feel like, it's just like one appointment, I'm meeting someone, and then the next thing you know, we're at their birth and they're not as vulnerable or open. Let's see. So I'm there throughout the entire pregnancy, up until 2 hours postpartum of delivery. So I make sure that a family, everything is okay, that mom is okay, that baby is okay, that the family has eaten, all those sorts of good things. And then I leave. And then sometimes, so one other thing, just going back to the prenatal period, I also provide, so we create a birth vision, of course, for the mother, and we provide that to the physician. But I also help a family create a postpartum plan as well. And that postpartum plan is just to give the family an idea of what postpartum will look like for themselves. And I think that this has kind of been one of the most beneficial pieces of my services that I provide, just because a lot of times families don't really think about how to plan out postpartum. They're just like, when we get there, we'll figure it out. But typically, like, I'll sit down and I'll help families set up a meal plan, help them set up a grocery list. For some families, they may even sort of like download a grocery app, like, Meyer or whatever, and then they'll build their grocery list. And then once they deliver, they'll place the order, and then I can pick up the groceries and bring them to their home once they return home from delivering at the hospital. So just little ways like that, just to help that postpartum period just kind of like flow in seamlessly and not feel just too overwhelming. Sometimes prompting them to think of families that they can reach out to, family members that they can reach out to make a meal or two for them, just to support them, or just, different things like that. Like, we may not have help with this, so maybe this is something we need to prepare for that time. So I'm just helping them with that. And then typically, I offer up to like 2 postpartum appointments. And the first one is typically a wellness check, but the second one it varies. It just depends on what a mom needs. She may need to take a nap. She may need to go shower. So she may want me to sit with baby. It can vary what that appointment may look like. So that postpartum appointment can vary. But typically, I just like what clients to feel more than anything throughout the entire time that I support them is just really to genuinely feel supported and that they can call on me at any time.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. I love that you emphasize the postpartum period because so much time, so much emphasis is placed on the pregnancy and the labor, and then nothing happens. You don't hear anything about what happens after that. And that's where that postpartum depression kicks in, where you start to feel overwhelmed with all these new responsibilities and the weight of being, this new life in your hands and not having a manual. And everyone goes away now, the parties are over, everything's quiet, and now it's just you. And yeah, I think the food is really, there's a lot of ways you can help in postpartum, but the food is like one everyone can kind of understand. They don't need explanations as to why someone needs to eat. And I know in particular for Brittany and Charlene did a lot of cooking before, and they're working, they have a new baby, trying to figure out their new life. And so that was one way I reached out to support them. And that can go on for quite, the first month, because they're not going to be sleeping. Who wants to clean? And so much is going on. I just think that's a really simple way people can support and understand. And so I'm so glad you brought that up. It may or may not be true that if you feed the nurses, you might get better care. I don't know. I might have heard that somewhere, but it certainly doesn't hurt, right? I love that you thought about the staff. I think that's really, really nice, but nice touch. Well, as we close out, are there any challenges to providing care or misconceptions people might have about doulas that you want to address?
Sure. So one misconception I think that I tend to run across is that some people feel like in order to have a doula, their intentions should be to have a natural childbirth, and that's not the case. No matter what type of birth that you can have a doula. I've had mothers who have had scheduled C-sections and have still opted to have a doula, to have someone there to support them, which is still very, very helpful because even in the pregnancy period, there are still a number of things that are going on, and still some things that mothers are still trying to consider while even having, if they are having a planned C-section, such as placenta encapsulation or breastfeeding. They still want these additional supports in these areas. So just because you're not having a natural childbirth does not mean that you can't have a doula. To be entirely honest, I think that if you are not planning to have a natural birth, that you might especially want to have a doula, because there are so many factors that come into play when you step into the hospital, and so many interventions that can create barriers for you that you may not have expected. I've had mothers say, I know I need an epidural, and then they find out that they need a catheter, and they're like, there's no way I'm getting a catheter because there's no way. So I'm never getting an epidural. So it's, some of those things that you just don't know, are a factor until, you're educated about the actual process of what happens in that space. So just because you don't have a natural birth does not mean that you can't have a doula.
That was wonderful. I think, yeah, that's certainly a common thought out there. So yeah, so how can people connect with you?
So you can connect with me on my Instagram. I am the Birth Alchemist on Instagram. And my website is alexandriathebirthalchemist.com.
Wonderful. And we'll include her links in the description box. Anything else you want to say before I do my little closing? You were wonderful. Such a breath of fresh air. It was really nice to hear how you appreciate being in healthcare and recognizing that this is anytime we're able to take care of people, not only do they put a lot of trust and confidence in us, but so do their family and their loved ones. And it is a vulnerable time, and the trust you can't put a price on that. And it really is a special opportunity to meet people in these times in their lives.
Yes, thank you so much. I just want to thank you for having me and giving me this opportunity to have this conversation with you. It was great.
Oh, you're wonderful. So just to recap real quick, we did talk about doulas and what they are, the history behind them, how they can support you before, during, and after pregnancy. We talked about Black Doulas Association, how they offer directory and training, and that our special guest here has received quite a bit of business through that website. You do have to pay a fee, but it sounds like you're going to get your return on your investment. Yeah. We learned about the education and trainings doula receive, how they can provide advocacy support for you, how they're really a liaison between you and the healthcare system, and the ways that they can support you and what the experience is like having them around. I 100% believe that doulas are a necessary component of the healthcare team. And hopefully today you've learned a little bit more about why that's important. And I'm so glad that you weren't afraid to talk about the costs, because in our community, that is a huge barrier. And so when we're able to make that conversation comfortable, then we're able to make more informed decisions.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
maybe that's the way people, maybe that's a baby shower gift.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then sometimes, I don't know if some doulas have it or not, but I know, the transaction system Square that people use. If you like note when you're signing up that you're like a medical professional or provide some sort of medical support, they accept NHA, is it NHA and what is it? FSA and HSA, I think. They accept those cards. So flexible health spending cards and things like that. So you can get that with your employer and then use that for your doula. And then I'm sure a lot of doulas have payment arrangements as well. Some doulas can be a little expensive, but I know that, if our goal is to really help, we try to do what we can to support moms. So we have payment arrangements and things like that can really help out.
Thank you. And I love how much you actually took the time to talk to doulas directly and that you weren't doing any gatekeeping. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I really love the business training. Sometimes we show people that we've made it and we forget to share how we got there. And, we won't be the last one to be in this space. And we want to make sure that the people who want to come behind us can do so and do it successfully. And so thank you for sharing that information and for allowing Black Doulas Association to have a space in this conversation to promote the services that they provide, because they, in trying to meet their mission, they too face barriers every day.
Absolutely. Yes.
Remember, everyone, you can email us your questions or show ideas to tmi.melanin@gmail.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Please share this show with your friends. Rate us on Apple and Spotify. It really helps to get the show to the people who really need to hear this message, and it supports the show. You can find our social media links and any of the resources that we listed today in the description box. Remember, we release a new show weekly on TMI Tuesdays at 10 a.m. on YouTube and all your favorite podcast apps. Thank you, Alexandria. I'll actually be in Michigan next month, so maybe we can all do lunch.
Yes, I love that.
You met little Avery?
Yes.
So she's walking and talking,
She's so big. She's so big. And they have that little app where they share all the pictures. Yes.
I love that app. Like, that is such a wonderful way to keep people connected. Yeah.
It is.
But it's been a delight to have you on here, to meet you in this format. And I just thank you once again for supporting them and allowing me to support them through the services you provide.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. You were amazing.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.